Hey guys, and welcome to the Kurima Podcast, where we talk about business, finance, entrepreneurship, and real estate. I'm your host, Jason Kurima, and I have Mike Bowman on today. This guy has an incredible story. He traded a car for a house, and then later on, he bought another truck, and eventually traded. What was it?
So I traded one truck for one house and made a profit on flipping the house. Then I used the profits to buy a second truck and then traded that one for two houses. And then after that, I traded my wife's car for a house, then bought her a newer car, traded that one for a house. It's just a lot of outside of the box thinking. We'll get into it.
Man, that's incredible. I'm so thrilled to have you on, man.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, Jason.
Yep.
And for anybody watching or listening, thanks for being here today. Jason and I have known each other for years, pretty much ever since he started out too.
Yep.
We've been growing together and stuff like that. So,
yeah, it's always really cool to see what you're doing and see how you've grown and everything. It's awesome, man.
Likewise.
I'm really proud of you.
You too, Jason. Honestly, when I showed up here to the studio today, I saw Jason's new nice truck. I saw his signs outside. I see his whole office. He gave me a grand tour. Just really, I'm very impressed with what you've done in a short amount of time too.
Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. All right, so let's dig in. I want you to give us all the details of how you started, the motive behind you starting, and what kind of motivated you, and let's just dive into all that.
Cool. So how I got started was I was a 20-year-old. I just got back from a church ministry trip in Africa with the Church of Jesus Christ. I went there when I was 18 years old, and I guess we're supposed to be looking at each other. We can do that.
Oh, no, you're good.
And there's a lot of cameras here. I'm not used to being this fancy. But anyways, I went on a church ministry trip, 18 years old to 20 years old. I get back. My wife was also doing a similar one. I was in Africa. She was in Russia. We were doing long distance as boyfriend, girlfriend. Mm-hmm. And I get back from that ministry trip on a Thursday, and one of my family members, my stepdad Rick, said, "Hey, I know you're going to be, starting a life. You should think about becoming a realtor because you can make as much as you want to make. You can work really hard and make a lot, or work less and make less." So I had been back in the country. I got back in on a Thursday, and that following Monday, 3 days later, there was a realtor course. So I went ahead and just became a realtor. It took a couple weeks, cost $500, and I started doing deals as a realtor first. So I started helping people buy and sell, your traditional real estate stuff. And then I realized very quickly that all these clients that I was helping buy and sell were making way more money than me because they were the owners of the real estate. Mm-hmm. So then I said, what do I need to do to put myself in the ownership position where I am the investor or I am the homeowner, So at the time, being a young 20-year-old, and I did end up marrying my girlfriend, Brittany, after she finished her ministry trip. She finished about a month after I did. And we ended up getting married, and we were totally broke living in my parents' basement. Oh. So if you could imagine, for me, it wasn't that big of a deal because they were my family, but for my wife, living with the in-laws. Would you want to live with your in-laws, Jason?
Mine are pretty awesome, so mine's kind of an outlier, but
they're good.
I get that.
You love your in-laws. I do too. I love my in-laws. I know my wife loves, my parents too.
Yeah.
But living with them when you're married, you want to be a little more self-sufficient, kind of get out and do your own thing.
Exactly.
So we were broke, but I basically took what I had and I made it something more. Mm-hmm. And what I had was a 1999 Ford F-250 truck. If we can see we can zoom in and maybe we can link these books down below. These are a couple of books I've written about life and about real estate investing, kind of self-help books and stuff, just mistakes I made, things I did right. I put it on paper to help everybody else, kind of the way I give back. But in my first book, The Hustle and Repeat, we talk about how I traded a truck for a house. Maybe we're going too in depth. We can always pause.
No, this is
anything.
Perfect.
I traded a truck for a house, and it was a really cool story. You'll have to read the book to find out more. But basically, I just hustled, found all the junky houses that were listed for sale on the market, and said, "Let me trade you my truck for your house." And I ended up talking somebody into doing that. They gave me their crappy house. I gave them my truck, and then I fixed up that crappy house over time, resold it for a profit. And then on the back of this book, you'll see I bought another truck, a nicer, newer truck, and traded it for two houses. I kind of repeated the process. So that got me into real estate, where I traded something that I had for something that I wanted.
Yeah.
And
so
it's cool.
let's get into like the day-to-day after that though. Like, was it hard not having a vehicle? Because that was your personal daily driver, right?
It was my personal daily driver. And
did Brittany have another car that you guys?
Yep.
Okay.
Brittany did have another car. She had an older Chevy Equinox, and it was in really good shape. We were able to share it. I was able to save up a little money and then buy another car to have on the side, but it was a less expensive car, obviously, because I traded the main one for the house. Yep. So it was a sacrifice, but as you've probably found, you have to sacrifice to get the things that you want in life.
Yeah, exactly.
That's for sure. So
that's really cool.
That's kind of how I got into real estate, was as a realtor, and then trading what I had for junky houses. And I still love junky houses. I buy and flip and sell and do a lot even today. But at that time, that's how I got into it. And I did some flips at the start to gain some cash, and I worked as a realtor to gain some cash. Just like most people listening, you might have a day job. You might be doing things to earn money to then jump into real estate. That's kind of what I did.
Yeah. It sounds like that's the epitome of do whatever it takes. I mean, you sell your vehicle. How many people are willing to take the sacrifice of something that you probably enjoyed your truck, you probably loved your truck.
Oh, I love my truck. Yeah.
And getting rid of something knowing that eventually it's going to pay off. Like, you took that sacrifice and took the risk, and it paid off, man. Yeah, so that's awesome.
It did for sure. And then from there, after flipping houses, getting a certain amount of cash together, for me, it took probably about a year, give or take, and I had about $50,000 saved up from realtor stuff, realtor income and commissions and deals that I was helping people with, as long as flipping and everything. And I took that $50,000 savings and I started investing that into long-term rentals. Nice. And at that point, I was still buying, lower end houses. And this, keep in mind, was in 2018, 2019. Houses were less expensive back then. Everything's kind of gone up nationwide, maybe worldwide since then. But I got $50,000, started recycling it through houses. And Jason, I know you're familiar with the BRRRR process. Yeah. Is that something that some of your listeners are familiar with? Maybe we can go over that.
Yeah,
too.
Let's go over it a little bit.
So the BRRRR is, B, the letter B, R, or maybe that's too many R's. Buy, remodel, rent, refinance, repeat. Yeah. So basically, you're buying a property that's distressed, you renovate it, and you rent it after you've renovated it, and then you refinance it, and then repeat. So it's basically, you should probably look it up because the internet will do a better job explaining it than what I am. But it's essentially, if you buy a house for a low enough price, you improve it, and then you're able to refinance and get all your money back out of the deal. Yeah. So go ahead, Jason. You probably can explain it better.
That's actually like, people probably think I do a lot of BRRRRs. I'm actually doing my first BRRRR on some apartments. I've never done it on a house, I don't think.
Cool.
I mean, I pulled equity out of our personal house before to invest in real estate. But outside of that, like, this is our first real BRRRR, and we did pretty well on it, so I'm excited. I'm supposed to close, I don't know, maybe this week.
Good for you, man.
That'll be nice.
And then probably the number one thing, and you know this, and your listeners probably know this too, is that if you buy a house right, if you buy it low enough, then you're totally going to be a winner. Yeah. Because most banks will loan you 80% of what a property is worth. Yeah. So if a property is worth $100,000 and you own it free and clear because you paid cash for it, you go to the bank, they're going to give you $80,000 or 80% of what it's worth. Yeah. So as long as you're buying houses at or under 80% value, all in value. Sometimes you have to buy it even less. You might have to buy it at half price because you have to improve it. As long as you're buying it cheap enough, this BRRRR process really works. And the way that I was able to use it was I recycled that same $50,000 that I had after saving up and recycled it through 13 houses. Yeah. So I did the BRRRR over a dozen times. And it was really cool because at the end of the day, I had 13 houses and didn't have any of my own money in any of those houses because I had bought them cheap enough, renovated them, gotten bank loans, used the bank loans to pay myself back in my savings account. So it's really cool. Yeah. And
that's the thing is banks love like houses and stuff. Like if you take a business that doesn't really have any physical assets like equipment and stuff, it's hard. It's a lot harder to get those type of loans compared to real estate. Banks just love real estate. It's a lot easier for them.
Yeah, they can because you can touch it. I mean, you touch the walls right here. I mean, this is something that you can touch and feel. It's not a number on a screen, and I'm not against stock market or crypto or anything like that, but call me old fashioned. I just love touching and feeling what I'm spending money on, or investing in. Yeah. So that's kind of how I got there. And after that, I graduated from, junkier houses to nicer houses. And then after those 13 houses, they were getting nicer and nicer, every new deal. Then I got into multifamily investing. And I love multifamily. I bought my first apartment complex. It was a 32 unit actually, from a friend. I saw him post on Facebook saying, hey, I just bought a 32 unit apartment. And I was thinking to myself, dude, I want to buy one of those. So I went and I texted that guy and said, hey, dude, I saw you just bought this apartment. How about you just mark it up, sell it to me? I said, I know the location. I know I can make it work. I'm qualified. We can ask my bank. And we went back and forth for a few months. I finally talked him into selling it. So that's how I got into a 32 unit apartment. Was I was networking, kind of putting myself out there. It was definitely, sometimes you do things that are outside of your comfort zone, and you feel like, do I really need to do this? Yeah. And that's how I felt the whole time. Do I really need to do this?
But it's also the exciting rush behind it. Like, man, I'm taking this huge risk, but man, I think I can make it happen. Like, all that excitement with it it's just a lot of fun, and for me at least.
It is. And the cool thing about multifamily investing in real estate is that it just scales so much quicker. And to put it in a perspective, it took me over a year to get my 13 houses, and I loved them. And I renovated every single one of them. Some of them I did more of the work. Contractor did some of the work. But it took me over a year to get those. And then I was able to, in one transaction, one swoop, get 32 units on an apartment. So, think about the scalability of your time, where you just eliminated years worth of work in one deal. Yeah. So that's what I like about multifamily, is the scalability. I'm the same way. And you know that. A lot of people listening, you guys know that too. Yeah. So, because time is money.
As I've kind of gone through, a single family house isn't that exciting anymore. It's like those bigger deals. Those are the ones like, man, I hope I can pull this off. If I can't, it sucks. But like those bigger deals, like always trying to grow and do more, is, to me, it's just fun and exciting.
It is. And honestly, that's where you get into wealth building for you and your family and your kids and your posterity. Everything I do is for my family. Yeah. When I'm at church or with friends and people say, hey, what's up with you, man? How was your week? I always or usually say the three same things, God, family, real estate. That's pretty much all I have time for, all I can focus on. And family is a huge one right in there. Yeah. So everything I do is for my family. And I feel like, as you do those bigger deals and as you jump into a little more risk, you definitely have some more reward for you and your kids and all that stuff, exactly. your spouse. Yeah.
So let's kind of go into what happened next in your story. Like, eventually you ended up with this 119 unit, right?
Yeah.
But like, where did that kind of come into play?
Yeah, so think about this, if you're in my shoes, you were a young investor, totally maxing out your bank loans, learning on houses, learning on multifamily. Then I was driving around one day, it was a rainy day, and I saw a self-storage facility. And I thought to myself, man, that's something I've never done before, because as an entrepreneur, you're usually trying to expand your horizons and try new things. And, me, I was like 21, 22 at the time, and now I'm only like 27, so it's just a few years ago. But I remember thinking, I see those storage wars on the TV shows where they're selling the crap out of so storage to me was like, I should try this. And I ended up calling the owner of that self-storage facility, and I called a lot of owners. It did take some time, but finally that owner of the self-storage facility, one of the first that I called, said, all right, I'll sell you my facility. And we worked out some deals. It was owner finance, actually. I started to put some cash in, but he owner financed a lot of the awesome. Purchase price. It was cool. So bought a self-storage facility there with some creative financing terms, which you'll find that creative financing is something that, works really good. It does. If you can involve an individual instead of a bank. And then there was actually room to grow that self-storage facility and build an additional building. So I ended up building a second building on there and increased the revenue and the value and all that stuff. And then let's see what else happened around that time. This whole time, my whole career, it's been a short career so far, 7 years in real estate, I've been selling as a realtor in the background. So always doing deals for my clients, always, helping make win-win situations for buyers and sellers. Yep. My first year as a realtor, I sold 25 houses.
Wow.
Now, which is a lot. Most people sell 5 or 6 their first year. Mm-hmm. I worked at a discount brokerage. Assist to Sell, if you've ever heard of it.
Oh,
They're a flat fee brokerage. Now I work at a conventional brokerage, Murney Associates, as a broker. Yep. But at the time, we were the cheapest realtors out there, and everybody was coming in the door kind of like how you see everybody go to Walmart because of the low prices. So I had a lot of exposure there and was able to do a lot of deals because I was the cheapest at the time, or the brokerage I was working for was. But anyways, throughout my whole real estate career, I continue to sell a lot as a realtor, and I still do today. Mm-hmm. Last year, I sold over 100 properties.
Holy cow.
And about half was me. I think it was 127. I'll have to double check my stats. 127 properties in 2023 is how many I sold. And about half were ones that I personally owned or flipped or whatever. And then the other half was for my clients, buyers and sellers.
So you flipped around like 60 houses or so?
Yeah, and actually now that I'm remembering it a little more, everybody can fact check me. You can just check my Facebook. I posted it on social media, as the end year recap. But I think 77 were ones that I flipped, and then the rest were ones that I did for clients and stuff. So I still sell a lot of houses for other people and apartments and properties and everything like that.
So how do you have your flip structured? Do you have contractors to do all the work, or what's a typical deal look like for you?
So a lot of my flips in the start, because there are lots of different ways you can make money in real estate, right? You can fix something up all the way and sell it to an owner-occupant homeowner buyer. That's one way to flip, right? Yeah. There's another way to flip, which is buying a distressed property and selling it as is to somebody else, which is, some people call it a wholesale or a wholetail or, back-to-back closing or an assignment closing. So the majority of the deals that I do today and what I did last year were, I was buying something cheap and I was marking it up a little bit and selling it cheap to another investor. Yeah. So like a wholesale or like a resale as is. Mm-hmm. So I used to take, properties, the whole 9 yards, go all the way to the market, sell it to owner occupants. And I still do that from time to time. And I do have good crews in place to do that. Mm-hmm. But the majority of my deals these days is, I find a property that may be worth $100,000 and I, buy it for $60,000 because I, am able to negotiate and get it down, make it a win-win for that seller because they need out really quick. They don't need to want to list it on the market. They just want to sell now. So a lot of times I'll buy a distressed property that, at a substantial discount and then mark it up a little bit, sell it to another investor like you. Yeah. So.
Dang, that's incredible, man.
So that's the majority of my deals the last couple of years have been that, where I find a deal, I'm able to help a seller, give them a cash offer, buy it from them quickly because of whether they have foreclosure, divorce, inherited it, or bills to pay, whatever the case is. I come swoop in, I buy it quick, make the seller's problems go away, and then I mark it up a little bit, sell it to somebody like you or another local investor. Yeah.
So do you use virtual assistants or anything like that to help with that, or how do you keep your leads coming? For
sure. I found that in business, it's typically best to have referrals, where past clients, current clients, friends and family, you're getting people just saying,
that's
hey,
the best, is having referrals.
Having referrals, usually the lead quality is a lot better. Mm-hmm. And I have called on a lot of, virtual assistant leads and all that stuff, looking on tax records, driving for dollars. I still drive for dollars. But my best deals have come from actually driving for dollars and referrals. Yeah. From other clients, other investors, bankers, attorneys, CPAs, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm just constantly working my network and constantly doing deals. But I really, do everything pretty well myself. Dang. As far as business stuff.
That's crazy, man.
My little brother, Benji, and he's probably going to watch this. He's a total hustler, go-getter. He became a realtor a couple years ago, and he and I have been working really closely together.
That's cool.
So we've done some, investments together as far as flipping and wholesaling and stuff like that. And then I've also been working with him a lot on the agent side. He's been helping me out with the realtor business.
Yep. So how old is he now?
He is about to have a birthday in August. So in a couple of weeks, and I believe he's going to turn 23. Okay. So I'm almost positive he's 22, but honestly, we're both adults now, so I just don't really think about our age too much.
Yeah.
Back when we were younger, I know we're 4 years apart, so that'd probably make him 23.
Okay.
So back when you're younger, then you're just, age is so much of a difference. But once you all get to be an adult, it's just kind of like, it's all the same,
Yeah.
So
Are you proud of your younger brother, though?
Yeah, I'm definitely proud of him. Benji, he's just a total hustler, go-getter. And at 23, he's very driven, and he's a hard worker.
That's awesome.
So maybe someone to have on the podcast or do some deals with at least, you know.
So what's your work schedule look like? Do you work like 80-hour weeks, or what's that look like for you?
So Jason, it's changed, and honestly, it still changes probably weekly or monthly or seasonally. As you know, in real estate, there are some crazier seasons and some slower seasons, like most businesses. And summertime, usually the craziest, wintertime, usually the slowest. And for me and my clients and my deals, I found that it is, pretty steady all year long. So my workflow is getting into a good routine. And that routine is I work 40 to 50 hours a week, and I just kind of work them as the deals come in. Yep. So some days I'm, pounding pavement before the sun's up, and I'm out until, it's dark. And other days, I get to hang with my family a little more, maybe hit the ground running by 9:30, 10 o'clock, and be home by 5 or 6 for dinner. Yep. So every day is different, because real estate's always kind of fluid and changing. Yep. But right now I'm probably working 40 to 50 hour weeks. At the very start, when I was trading the trucks for the houses and going crazy and finding deals and scaling and leveraging and bank loans and everything, I mean, back in that day, I was working 10 to 12 hour days, 6 days a week, taking Sunday off as a day of rest. And then, but the other 6 days a week, working mega, 70, 80 hour weeks. Dang. So now I'm back down to more of a normal schedule, because I don't need to be doing as many deals as I was back then. So how about you, Jason?
Honestly, we have a lot of our stuff is pretty passive, which is nice.
Awesome.
A lot of weeks I might put in like 20 hours. So that's been pretty nice. But like you said, sometimes I'll have to work like crazy hours to get everything done. So it just kind of fluctuates. We're big on finding the right people to put into your business to run it for you, and then you can grow from there. So if I can keep finding the right people and put them in the right place, like I have a goal for Kurima Real Estate within 3 years to have it running and growing without me and Haley's involvement.
That's awesome.
Which would be, it'd be kind of crazy, like trying to, from where we are, where we're mostly doing all the work, and then we have an assistant, to where I'm hoping to be, but I think we can be there in 3 years.
I think you can totally do it. A lot can happen in 3 years. Yeah. That's for sure. Yeah. So I think you guys will be there. We'll look back in 3 years. We'll watch this podcast. Boom, there he is.
Yeah.
So the Kurimas are there.
So what are some of the other books that you wrote?
So the first is Hustle Then Repeat, and this is kind of how I got started. Hustle is an acronym for a few principles that I learned, and you probably know them too. For being hungry, doing the unthinkable, being a suck-up, putting in the time, being limitless and efficient. So Hustle, kind of a fun acronym there.
That is a cool acronym.
I wrote all of my books at a 4th grade reading level, and I put a lot of pictures in there. So, it's just super easy to read. It's a short book. You can put it in your pocket. So I tried to frame all of my books that way where, anybody can read them. That's kind of how I got started. Some just cool success principles of how people can get started in life or business. In my second book, The D's of the Deal, this talks about 18 different principles that can lead you to a better deal. In real estate or business, and really you could probably relate them to a lot of other things, but it's through the perspective of a real estate investor, which is what I am. And here I talk about how we acquired our 32-unit apartment, how I traded my wife's car for a metal building in Springfield, Missouri, and I was able to go ahead and rent that out afterwards, and the passive income from that metal building that we traded her car for, made the payment of a new car for Brittany. So it was kind of just zeroing out there, working the cash flow so I can get her something nice.
So I know you went over that really fast, but that's huge. If people can understand that concept of you buy an asset that pays for your liability, and then on top of it, if it can cover those expenses, and you own something like that you want, like a toy, but you bought an asset that pays for it, that's a game changer.
It is. And kind of to give some details to the listeners here, my wife had a Chevy Equinox, which, if you buy the book, you'll see it in the picture here. And it was a good car. It was a nice car. It was older. It was probably at least 10 years old at the time. And Brittany wanted a newer car, and I wanted to get that for her, but we couldn't really afford to just go up and get her a new car, especially if we were going to put debt on it, have a monthly payment. We were still in our growing phase, like most people are when they're newly married or newly starting out with a business venture. You're kind of tight on cash.
Yeah.
So I figured, what can we do to take what we have and turn it into something that we want? And we took her current car, an older Chevy, and I called around on the MLS, which is the multiple listing service. All the houses that are for sale in your area are typically on the MLS and Zillow and stuff. And I found somebody who was willing to trade their metal. It was just a metal shop building, and it was 500 square foot. You can kind of see it right there, Jason. And I got them to trade me that building and the ground that it was on for her car. And then I was able to rent out that building for about $400 a month.
Dang.
And the $400 a month was pretty close to the payment of a newer Lincoln Navigator, which was a bigger, nicer car that I wanted to get my wife, and she liked it too.
And how many years ago was that one?
This was, honestly, the last over half a decade just totally blurs together, but I'm pretty sure this was like 2019.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was late 2019.
So the rates probably would have been a lot better on interest and stuff.
Yeah, you're right. So I remember, because we obviously had to finance the car, the new car. And the first car, we had it free and clear because her dad actually gave it to us as a wedding gift when we first got married. And at the time, I think the car was worth $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000, give or take. So it was a really generous gift, and it was something that she drove it for a few years when we first got married. But getting back on track, we were able to rent out that shop building for about $400, and then the car payment was like $495 or something. So it was really close.
Yeah, really close.
So we were basically only out of pocket $95, and she was driving a newer car. I think it was a 2016 Lincoln Navigator, so it's just a couple years old. And
but the other part of that is you own an asset free and clear, and then it's paying for your other. It's technically an asset if you think about a car as an asset, but if you look at it the way that Robert Kiyosaki talks about it, which is the guy that wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, if it takes money out of your pocket, it's a liability. If it puts money into your pocket, it's an asset. So he's basically getting another asset for free practically, and it looks good on his balance sheet because he owns it free and clear, and it has, what was that probably worth, that building?
And here's the best part. After a couple of years, I ended up selling the property for double what I paid for it.
Awesome.
So, or what I had in it, double what I had in it as far as car value and stuff like that.
Dang.
So it was a good deal all around, and it afforded for us to get something that we wanted or that we felt like we needed because we were growing our family, more kids, all that stuff. So definitely a lot of pros in owning real estate. If there's one thing you take away from the podcast today, it's own real estate. We live in America, the greatest nation on earth, where you can buy dirt, you can buy buildings, it's one of the best things ever. Actually, there is a quote, and I want to pull it up and read it to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's by Franklin D. Roosevelt, okay? And you can look this up and fact check me. I've got it here on my phone. Quote, "Real estate cannot be lost or stolen, nor can it be carried away. Purchasing with common sense, paid for in full, and managed with reasonable care, it is about the safest investment in the world."
Yeah.
That was our president, Franklin D. Roosevelt there. So I love real estate because it does, help you get your financial goals, and it's really cool. So.
Do you know much about him? Was he an investor, a real estate investor, or anything?
Honestly, I don't know too much about him.
Okay.
But I saw that quote, and I downloaded it. So
yeah. So what about your next book?
Okay, so next book, The 5 F's of Life. So the 5 F's of life are 5 principles that start with the letter F that can lead you to a better life. Now here we're kind of transitioning in this book from, not away from real estate, but more towards, life and self-help and
something
stuff like
that can apply in every area.
In every area. And still in my first 2 books, in The Hustle and The D's of the Deal, you can still apply those anywhere, in and out of business. But 5 F's of life is more life-related, Yeah. And the 5 F's are, 5 principles: faith, fitness, finance, family, and fun.
Yep.
So those are the 5 things that I choose to focus on. And I feel like if you focus on those and you grow those and try to continue to improve, your life just gets so much better.
Yep.
So here we dig into in the book how you can kind of jump into those 5 principles and make sure that you're taking care of your finances, making sure that your family is getting the love and attention they need, making sure that you're having fun. That's a crucial one that some people forget. So there's a lot of cool things in the 5 F's of life. Just kind of have a good balance.
So what's the last book that you wrote?
So the last book that I wrote is called Trading Up.
Okay.
And I published it, can't even remember now, within the last year or so. And it talks about how you can trade up multiple different aspects of your life. Now, this is also we transitioned into life, self-help books, still talk about real estate. The first principle, and you can see them on the back of the book here.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'll give this copy to you, and then all the viewers, you can buy a copy. I'm published through Amazon, self-published through Amazon, cool. And they're really good to me. They have an awesome program. So if anybody out there is thinking about writing a book or being an author, all it costs is you writing the book and paying $25 to get ISBN, which is an identification number for the book. So Amazon makes it super simple for anybody to become an author.
So from there, I'm assuming you just ordered a bunch of them yourself, and then you also can select like how much the book retails for and all that?
Correct, yeah. So I order what's called author copies, which obviously I get them at a discount. I don't know if it's, Amazon's discount. They're still probably making money on me. But I order like 100 or 200 copies at a time. That way I just always have a bunch in my office to give out to people and stuff like that. So most of the time, if you buy my book on Amazon, it's obviously going to be a little more expensive than if I just give it to you for free. But if we don't have the ability to meet, then I think Amazon's the best way to buy it. So anyways, Trading Up talks about how you can trade up or level up or increase your assets, beliefs, relationships, mindset, health, lifestyle, habits, and education.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So just a lot of cool things. And I'll read back through those again really quick, maybe a little slower. Assets, beliefs, relationships, mindset, health, lifestyle, habits, and education. So just kind of how you can better yourself in those ways. And I'm no pro. I'm a young dude, just kind of tripping around, figuring out life, trying to do what's best. But I have found a few instances where, it's worked for me and it's worked for other people. And why not put it on paper? Maybe it works for you.
Yeah. Man, I'm so impressed with you writing all those books. Like, how many people? You're 27. You've already written 4 books.
This is 4 that I've authored personally, and then I have a 5th book that I co-authored with some friends.
Dang.
Called 2020 Silver Linings, and that one's on Amazon too. If you look up that title, and it's published by one of my friends, John Grayton, and we published that one in the midst of the COVID thing that was happening a few years ago, probably almost like 4 years ago. Geez, but. Everybody was saying that 2020 was the worst year ever and that it was never going to get better. And during that year, my friend John reached out to me and a couple other individuals and said, hey guys, let's write down all of the positive things that have happened in your life in 2020.
Dang, that's really cool.
And up until that point in time, or positive principles, something you learned, something that happened. So it's something that, it was supposed to uplift and help people. So for me, 2020 was my best year yet. And 2021 was my best year yet after that. And 2022 and 2023. Now we're in 2024. So every year just gets better and better. And I believe a lot of that is a mindset. It's just if you get out of bed, you wake up and you feel today's going to be a bad day, then it probably will be a bad day.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people did that in that year, 2020. So we tried to help uplift and do stuff. So
what are some of the best lessons you think you've learned in life? I know you kind of outlined some of them in your books.
Yeah, I definitely outline them in my books. I'd say that's, if you want to get more of a refined, I sat down, put down, read my books. When we're talking here, I'll probably be, less refined and a little less detail oriented. But I think that one of the best lessons I've learned throughout my whole life is waking up early. And that's just kind of a silly lesson, right? Because there's a lot of things you can learn in life. But I feel like most of the highly successful people that probably wake up early.
Yeah.
And I wake up early. I love waking up early because it just jump starts the day. And part of that, in my opinion, is that you should exercise and you should read scripture or something that motivates you or pray and meditate. I choose to read scripture and pray. And so waking up kind of getting your body right by exercising, maybe getting your mental or your spiritual right by doing those things.
Yep.
And I feel like that just jump starts the day, and it makes it to where you can be more effective throughout the day. I love waking up early.
So are you like part of the 5 a.m. club?
Honestly, for the last year, I've been waking up at 3:50 a.m. So 3:50. I didn't wake up that early this morning because we're in summertime. I wake up typically at about 5:30 a.m. It's been all across the board. I've been as early as 3:50, as late as like 6:30, but always before the sun.
But why 3:50? Because
So
that's just crazy to me, man.
It was crazy, dude. And honestly, when I was doing that, it was I had to go to sleep at like 8 o'clock at night.
Are you saying it's because of like you wanted to be up before the sun, so in winter the sun comes up earlier?
Kind of.
Is that what you're saying? Or?
Kind of, but it just for the 350 specifically, we'll go back to that, was because I got asked to be a volunteer to teach an early morning Bible study class for all the high schoolers at my church congregation. Mm-hmm. And that study class is 4 days a week, only during the school year. So we're in the summertime now, so I don't have to teach it, or I don't get to teach it. But during the school year, I would wake up at 3:50, exercise, read my scripture, shower, and then the Bible study class starts at 6 a.m. So, and it goes 6 to 7. And I would co-teach that with another guy who's about my age at church. So,
that's cool.
So anyways, during the last school year, for about a year, I was waking up way early, 3:50, to go teach that class and make sure that I got everything done on my personal to-do list before that class to feel good and jumpstart for the day.
Yeah, that's incredible.
But now that we're in summertime, get a break. I don't have to teach the class, so now I'm up at 5:30, and I'm usually done with my morning routine by about 8 a.m.
Now I'm caught on, did I say it backwards? Is it the sun comes up earlier in the winter or the summer?
The sun definitely comes up earlier in the summer.
Okay,
I feel like right
I
now,
that backwards then.
Yeah, no worries. I feel like right now, because we're in the month of July, probably 6 a.m., I bet the sun's up for sure by 6 a.m. And I get up at 5:30 because I know, when I get up, it's still coming up or it's a little dark outside. But yeah,
doesn't that feel amazing just being up before the sun?
It feels good because you get up and you feel invigorated, and it's like you get extra hours of the day, man.
Yeah.
If you wait until 8 or 9 to wake up, which is not bad to sleep in by any means. I sleep in, as late as I can on Sundays.
Yeah.
So, which is typically, my kids wake me up by like 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
But definitely waking up and getting those early hours in, you just feel refreshed. You feel invigorated. Your body's in the right shape. Your mental, your physical, your emotional, your spiritual, all in the right shape to start the day.
So let's talk about your family a little bit.
Yeah.
You have how many kids now?
So I have 3 kids. I love them so much. And I love my wife, Brittany. So I've got my wife, Brittany. We've been together for over a decade. We're high school sweethearts.
Yeah.
We dated for 5. We've been married for 6. So we've been together 11 years now.
Almost the same story, dude.
Same as you guys.
So
Tell me about what you guys.
So 2 kids, and then one's a 3-year-old and one's 1.5, or almost getting pretty close to 2. And then me and Haley started dating when we were 15. Got married about 5 years ago. And so the story is almost identical. That's crazy.
There you go. See, you're on the right track, man.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, a lot of those high school relationships, they're strong and they work out and they're good. And you knew each other then, you know each other now, and you grow together and all that stuff. So
and it's kind of interesting, we've changed, but yeah, like you've said, we've grown a lot together. Like, I don't know, one of the things that, there's certain things that, like, whenever me and Haley started dating, like, I always told her, like, one day I'm going to have a Lamborghini. One day we're going to own, like, a bunch of real estate. One day we're going to do, like, all these crazy things that most people think are crazy, unrealistic for them. And she kind of had some of that mindset. But then I started taking her to seminars and events and stuff, and she met some of those people that are already doing that. And, like, there's not that much different between us and them. Like, why can't we do that? Why can't we have that type of lifestyle? And so now she's still the humble type that doesn't want a lot of that stuff, that doesn't care to have it. She just, but she can at least see, how that stuff is possible. So that was really cool to take her to that stuff and have her, like, mindset shift.
And you're not the only one who had that happen, mindset shift with their spouse. I think that's a good thing that she's going through and you're going through. That's something that we went through too.
Yep.
I mean, I remember Brittany and I, we were buying investment properties and making them really nice before we even had a nice home for ourselves.
Yeah.
And that was frustrating for her because you talk about kind of getting that mindset. She's thinking, oh, I want a home for me and my husband and my future kids. And here we are spending 6 figures on a rental house, putting in new flooring, a new kitchen and a bathroom. But at the time it was, well, hey, this rental is going to make us money. If we were buying a house and doing this all for ourselves, that would cost us money.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Robert Kiyosaki, asset versus liability.
Yeah, exactly.
So it took a little while to get Brittany. She was always supportive, but for her to be like, okay, I totally trust you. Whatever you think, we should just do it. As far as business, it took a little time, and we're there now. So.
And it's kind of interesting that you said that because there's, I think 2 of the houses are they're maybe not nicer on the inside, but they're bigger, would suit our family better if we moved into them rather than flipping them, selling them. But yeah, hopefully we're looking at buying a house this year maybe, so we'll see how that goes. But
that's super exciting, man.
Yeah.
It's important, in my opinion, for you and anybody listening, just kind of have a good home base.
Yeah.
To have a place where you're comfortable, where you and your family can be together and worship together, just help each other, love each other. So that's really important, to have a good, solid place to call home. And it doesn't necessarily mean you need to go buy a house or need to have a big house or anything like that. It's just, have a place where you feel comfortable, whether you're renting, buying, apartment, house, whatever. So
exactly. Yeah.
So let's see what's next. Let's jump into something else.
So what does believe in yourself mean to you? It's something I use a lot in my posts. To me, it means you have to you have goals, right? And so you have to believe in yourself enough to see yourself achieving them, and then you can make it happen. But if you don't have that belief that you can do it, then you're not going to do anything. You're going to crumble or give up or whatever. So that's kind of what it means to me. So what about you?
Believe in yourself. What that means to me is trust your gut feeling. So I'm an impulsive guy. I mean, if you give me podcast questions to outline 5 minutes before the podcast as opposed to 5 days before, I'll probably do better with the 5 minutes. So I'm definitely more of an impulse, kind of wing it, and you may be too. Yeah. Just, the more time I have to think about it, more I overthink it. So just kind of roll with the punches.
Yeah.
And so I feel like believing in yourself is just, taking action, not being impulsive or not being irrational or any of the, too far out there, but definitely trust your gut feeling, make decisions quickly, and act and try and do things. So,
you might have already answered this, but I couldn't remember. Did you go to college at all?
I didn't go to college. So I finished my 2-year ministry trip in Africa, and I was 20, and I got back, and 3 days later, signed up to be a realtor or go through the licensing class and all that yada yada. So I never have gone to college, and I think that was one of the questions here on the have you gone to college or not? So
do you regret that, or are you glad? Because it seems like it worked out really well for you.
It worked out great for me, and so I'm a fan of education, and actually here in the Trading Up, on the last principle that we talk in the Trading Up, what you should be bettering and improving is your education. But education doesn't necessarily mean 4 walls at a college, so being inside a classroom. So I don't regret not going to college. My wife went to college for a couple of years when we were first married and stuff, and she is knowledgeable, and she has good skills from that. She learned, but at the end of the day, I don't do well in a school setting. I do well out pounding pavement, making deals, talking to people, and all that stuff. So
I know this is this can be controversial, but I'll say it anyways. This isn't exactly a true thing, but there is some truth to it. There was this old dean or professor or something that was be nice to your A and B students, or your straight A students. They might come back in a few years and maybe teach a class for you. And then be nice to your C and D students. They might come back and donate a building or $10 million to one of your projects or something. But I don't know.
It's the thing. It's just different people learn in different ways. You may learn better hands-on or outside or doing, And actually there's a phrase, and you may have heard it, that a smart man learns from his own mistakes. A wise man learns from the mistakes of others.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between, kind of learning about something or doing and participating in being something.
Exactly.
I'm not a wise man. I have to make my own mistakes to learn from them. But I feel like some people, you kind of have to be hands-on and doing it as opposed to just being told what to do or being told do this or that or learning about it in a classroom. So
Exactly. Yeah.
but yeah.
So what are a few of your goals that you're working towards right now?
So a few of my goals is I want to get more time back with my family. So I've been working mega hours, happily and necessarily for my family the last 7 years. But I want to be back more with my wife and my 3 kids. I've got 2 little boys and a little girl. I love them so much. I want to play with them all day, every day. So honestly, in a perfect world, I'm with my family all the time, just living off of my passive income. Yeah. And obviously I love deals, and I think it's important for your mental health for you to continue doing something. It's not good to just sit on a beach all day or to be doing nothing all day. I mean, you can't be stagnant in your life. You want to continue doing things. So I'll always be doing deals till the day I die. One of my goals is to, continue doing deals, but I really want to get a lot of time back with my wife and kids. And also want to be more healthy, focus more on buying the more expensive foods that are healthier, having more time for exercise and doing things outdoor with the kids and wife. So, because obviously it's important to work hard. And there are a lot of listeners, and you are maybe in this phase. I'm kind of trying to get out of this phase, but I've been in it for a long time, where you're in that growing phase where you need to be, sleeping in the office or working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. So, there's definitely times to hustle, and I've hustled a lot, and now I want to kind of just bring it back down to a normal level, where my family's getting more attention.
So how have you grown over the years, and is there anything that made you more successful than you used to be?
For sure. So my willpower and momentum have grown over the years. Like as far as personal discipline, maybe think back to when you were a younger kid and you wanted to go out and spend your money on eating out, going to Sonic or something. You'd probably just spend your money and go eating out at Sonic. You wouldn't even think about it. And maybe as you get older, you start thinking, oh, well, I can save up. I can use my willpower. I can use my discipline, maybe save up and then buy an iPod or buy an iPhone, after saving up for a number of months or something like that, as opposed to eating out all the time, spending my money. So that's just an example. But for me, I feel like my willpower and my discipline has gotten a lot better over the last decade or so. And I think that works well with momentum too, because have you heard Sir Isaac Newton's first law of physics and stuff like that? I'm probably going to butcher it.
But it's just, in motion stays in motion.
Yeah, exactly. An object in motion stays in motion.
Yeah.
So if you're already doing good things, you're already on the right track, you're already hustling, you're already putting in the work, it's easier to maintain that and keep doing that.
Yeah.
And that's something that, I feel like I've grown over the years, or something that makes me more successful than what I was in the past was just, that discipline and that momentum and just nurturing that and keep it going.
Everything builds upon itself.
For sure. So, yeah, it totally does.
But I really like that. I never really thought about fitness and stuff as an object in motion stays in motion. Because you already have the momentum. It's easy those days when you don't feel like doing it. But if you can just get yourself okay, one more day, I'm going to do it today and make that right decision, and just keep going. Because if you look at working out every day on a long-term scale, for me at least, it makes it unattractive or something I don't really want to do. But if I just think about it day by day, it's not so bad.
Yep, day by day. And it's like the phrase, you may have heard it, is how do you eat an elephant?
One bite
at a time, right? Yeah. You don't eat the elephant. You don't think about the next 365 days. I'm gonna have to work out every day. That's hundreds of hours of working out. That can be overwhelming. But if you just think simplify. I'm gonna spend an hour today, and that's it. So that's something that I feel like has helped for sure.
So what are a few of your favorite business books outside of yours, of course?
For sure. Obviously, these come highly recommended. Would totally recommend them to the viewers. You can find me on Amazon. We'll probably put a link or something in there.
Yeah, I will.
But Probably my favorite business book is The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. I don't know if you've read that or heard about it.
I actually haven't heard of it.
Oh, man, you got to read it. That's a perfect opportunity. I wish I could go reread that book for the first time. That's how good it is. Wow. So The Slight Edge, it actually segues perfectly from our last question about discipline and momentum. The Slight Edge talks about how the little things you do every day work for you or against you. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, exercising, yes or no? If you don't exercise today, are you going to be fat and turn into like 300 pounds overnight? No. And if you go out and you exercise, are you going to be ripped and fit after one day? No. The little things, think about that over time. So, over the next 30 days, if you don't exercise, where's that going to end you? Or over the next 30 days, you do exercise, where's that going to end you? Yep. Same thing with eating an apple or eating some potato chips. If you eat a bag of potato chips today, eat some Doritos or something, is that going to kill you? No. But if you eat it every day for 30 days, you'll probably see a difference, and it's probably going to be a negative difference. If you eat an apple a day, you're sure going to see a positive difference. Yeah. So I love the Slight Edge book, and I think you'll like it too, because it just talks about the little things we do compound over time and produce the results. So whether they're negative results or positive results, it's up to you and your decisions.
Exactly. That makes sense.
So I totally recommend it. And it's a pretty short read. I think it's 200 pages, give or take, and it's big letters. I mean, you can get it done pretty quick.
So what struggles are you going through or have gone through, and how are you growing through them?
Mm-hmm. So struggles that I've gone through, let's start with that, is whenever you're starting out in business or real estate, you want to grow as fast as you can, right? Mm-hmm. You want to, buy a house and then go up to an apartment or a self-storage or a land or become a builder. I mean, you have big dreams when you start something, right? And for me, I had big dreams just like you, and I wanted to do them very, very quickly. So I over-leveraged myself on every single bank loan I had. Yeah. I was just, bank, give me more. Oh, let's max out this loan on the house. Let's max out this one on the apartment or on the self-storage. So for me, probably one of the biggest struggles that I encountered early on was over-leveraging on my bank loans. So specifically having too much debt, and it was a little scary. Mm-hmm. So it was to the point where my bank payments and my rents, they weren't matching up. I was negative, once you factor in property management, maintenance, real estate tax, property insurance. Can't remember if I said that. So, once you factor all the costs of owning real estate and then you tack on your mortgage, I was losing money on a lot of my first rentals. I had a lot of equity in them as far as dollars, but you got to sell to get that equity. Yeah. And that's what I did. I sold everything that wasn't cash flowing and started focusing solely on owning multifamily real estate. Mm-hmm.
So was that a hard thing, like a hard lesson for you to learn, or was it pretty clear, like, this is where my situation is, the cash isn't flowing correctly, all I need to do is sell these and then I'll be fine and everything will flow right?
Yes and no. It was easy and hard. So it was easy to sell and liquidate the properties I was over leveraged on. It was easy because I was thinking, stress goes away. Mm-hmm. I get rid of the properties that I'm losing money on or just really, really tight on or not really making anything on. Mm-hmm. And I get to cash out of all the equity I have in them and roll that into a better investment. So it was easy in that sense, but it was also hard because I had put some blood, sweat, and tears in all those properties. I ended up selling my 13 original houses that we talked about earlier in the podcast that I did the BRRRR on. Mm-hmm. And it was very important to buy those and learn the process and do the thing. I would not do it any other way, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But I did sell those houses. Then I did sell the self-storage facility that I bought and built a building on. Mm-hmm. And then I did end up selling the 32-unit apartment too. Yep. So I ended up selling everything and rolled into a 119-unit apartment in Springfield, Missouri. Mm-hmm.
So when you were going through your cash flow issue, was it clear, was it like within a month or two you realized, oh crap, this isn't working very well, I need to do something? Or was it like, I'm going to just see how long I can hold on and maybe something will come up? Yeah. Was it kind of a slow process, or was it like real clear in the beginning?
Yeah, thanks for lining that out. So it definitely was a little bit of a slower process for me Because for me, you want to keep everything. When you're an investor in real estate, the buy and hold guy, the guy who buys rentals and keeps them forever, he's the winner. But you have to be able to afford to keep those rentals. Yeah. And if you can't afford to keep them going, when you have bad months or tenants don't pay or they trash your house, you're spending $10,000 out of pocket. They put concrete down the toilet, not gas, but oil down the sink drain. I mean, so if you have...
Is that some of the stuff that happened to you?
Some of the stuff that happened to me. We had one guy, he set a bonfire at one of the units. I was like, are you freaking... It was
inside?
It was outside.
Okay.
Thank goodness it was outside. It was on concrete, but it was still like, dude, a bonfire. So anyways, you deal with so much crap as a landlord, as someone who owns rental real estate. And if you look at the media and you look at TikTok and everything, they're making us look like we're just loaded. You look at the media and if you pay your landlord $1,000, that goes straight into their vacation fund. They're going to spend it on their wives, get Gucci purses. I mean, whatever. Yeah. So for me, it was hard. We'll reel it back in. It was hard for me to sell some of my initial rental properties because I loved them. I'd worked hard on them. Yep. And I wanted to buy everything in sight and keep it forever. Yep. But that's just not how it works. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices in your business and in your life.
Sometimes you have to give up to grow.
Exactly.
Or to go up, and whatever word you want to use. But it sounds like you did exactly that. I mean, you gave up some of the smaller deals to get your big deal.
And you traded up. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. You traded up. So, and I'm very, very, happy and thankful. Almost every day I say in my prayers, thank you, God, for how everything has played out. Yeah. Because, there's been ups and downs and there's hard days and easier days. I'm sure you've experienced those. Everybody's experienced hard and easier days. But overall, I'm very happy and thankful with where my life is right now.
That's good.
And so that was a long answer to your question. But yeah, it was kind of hard. It probably took me 6 months before I was like, all right, I need to just cut ties with these properties that are tight or losing me money.
Yeah. I'd say for me, I guess I'll go ahead and answer that.
Yeah, let's hear it.
The struggle that I've going through recently is not pulling enough construction loan for apartments. Like I've always been pretty good on budget for houses and house flips. But whenever it's apartments, like I have an initial plan on what I'm going to go in and do and fix up. And then I ended up going through my construction loan and then being out like $30,000 to $50,000 out of pocket. And one of them, I think I'm almost $70,000 out of pocket.
Geez, wow.
Putting my own money into, and that's just frustrating. But hopefully it's a lesson I quickly learn. I mean, I'm still relatively early in the apartment game. So hopefully I'm learning that lesson, and then I'll plan accordingly in the future as we buy more.
Yeah, totally. You live and you learn, and I feel like you're definitely living and learning. A lot of people are. Nobody's perfect from the get-go. I mean, shoot, I've made so many mistakes. You read my books, you'll see. So. Yeah.
Now, what's something that you're scared to do, but if you do it, it'll pay off?
Delegation. So that's the biggest thing for me. And you may be like this too. And I heard a statistic the other day that Grant Cardone put out, and I can't even remember. I don't want to misquote on the podcast, but so many businesses are single member entrepreneurs. Yeah. It was a big percentage, like the majority, are single person businesses where there are no employees other than the one person. And that's kind of how I am. I definitely, want to do everything myself because I know how to do it right. I know how to do it the best way. I mean, everybody gets into their grooves where they think they know how to do things the best, right? So for me, I've just found a really good groove as a realtor, real estate broker, as an investor, as a flipper, as an owner of rentals. So I just feel like I've really found a good way to do things. And it would be so hard to train somebody and tell them how to do it because you want to get inside their brain and say, do it this way,
And they're probably going to make those mistakes that you wouldn't have made. So like you're probably going to lose out on some of the money that you would have made. So it's hard to give that control up.
It's so
hard. At least
in
the beginning.
It's so hard. And honestly, it's just something that I'm still struggling with, and maybe I'll just always be by myself, My brother Benji, he's definitely taken a huge load off because, he's been a rock star realtor the last couple years, closing tons of deals. And I don't remember how many we've closed all together, but I remember one time we closed like 10 deals in a month or 10 properties in a month. So
Wow.
he's a mover and a shaker, and he's taken a big load off. I assume, and I hope so, Benji, if you're watching, let's do this, that he'll just kind of take over one day where he can do what I'm doing. So that's the goal with Benji, is to kind of help him to where he and I can be ambidextrous, where we're both knowing how to do everything the same way and all that stuff. But it takes time. So for me, obviously, it's taken the better part of a decade to learn and do everything and find out the processes that work best. So...
and I actually know some brothers that do kind of the same thing as you guys. They split. I don't know what your guys' split is, but they split everything down the middle, and they both have they're good at, one's strong here and one's strong over here, and they just make things work, and they've worked together for like 20 years or whatever it is. And so it's really cool to see them, and sounds like you and your brother are kind of in that same path.
We're kind of on the right track, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
If it were up to me, Benji and I would just know how to do everything the exact same way, and we would do it, and it'd be, hey, you go do that, I do go do this, and we switch off, and all the work gets done the same way, and we're headed on that right track, for sure.
Cool. Yeah.
So delegation is something that I'm still trying to, Benji, I trust him, we do a lot together, but anybody else, it's hard to kind of let them in, because I want to take care of my clients as far as the buyers and sellers I work with in real estate, and I don't want to lose a deal or have somebody get offended, or on my investing side, I don't want somebody to, on my behalf, make an offer that was too high or something like that. So there's a lot that goes into real estate and any business.
Sounds like control. Like you want that control.
Oh, I want the control.
Over it. Yeah.
But to get that control and have it, and anybody listening, you'll probably see the more control that you want to have, the more your personal life and your family life is going to suffer. But I want my family life, my personal life, to get better.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to lose some control to do that. So
yeah, it's easier said than done, though.
Way easier said than done. So anyways.
So what is one piece of advice that you would give someone that's maybe younger, maybe 18, 23, somewhere in there, that really wants to succeed in life and in business? What would you tell them?
I would tell them, work like it all depends on you, but pray and have faith in God like it all depends on him.
Absolutely, man. I love that.
That's just honest. That's how I've done it, and it's totally worked out. I mean, if you believe in a higher power or a being, obviously, people have different beliefs. But for me, I feel like my spirituality has been huge because I have somebody that I can pray to and ask for help and feel guidance and stuff like that. And, makes your marriage better and your family relations. So I definitely feel like, do your part, because I don't believe, in a God that gives things away for free. It's more of what you read in the Bible about teaching a man to fish instead of
reaping what you sow.
And reaping what you sow and giving a man a fish. I mean, you may even remember from the Bible that the talents. The talents, the master goes away, he gives some talents to his servants and stuff. And I'm paraphrasing it, so you can, read the actual story in the book. And then some of the servants go out and they double their talents and they make more and they do good with what they were given. And then the one guy buries it in the ground because he's too afraid to lose it. So there's just...
It's like talents is like a form of currency. It's like
yes.
a U.S., like maybe one guy got $5,000, one got $2,000, and one got $1,000. The guy with $1,000 buried it because he knew that the master was a kind of a harsh master and he didn't want to lose his money because he was scared of him. The guy that had $2,000 doubled it or whatever, made another $2,000 or $1,000.
Yeah.
And then the guy that had $5,000 doubled his and he brought him $10,000. And so the master took the $1,000 from that guy and gave it to the guy that had
the doubled, top guy, right?
The top guy, the one that gave him 10,000, because he was faithful and multiplied what he was given. But you could use that same word, talents, as in the talents that God gives you. Like, are you gonna squander your gifts that He gives you, or are you gonna go after it and use what God has given you? So I like how it can have multiple meanings, not just monetarily, but your actual gifts that God gives you.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. Yep. So that's a good one.
So how has God played a role in your business? Like, do you feel like God and business should be separate, or do you think you should keep them together?
Me personal, I think God is everything. Yeah. So I don't think it's, go to church on Sunday, be a Sunday believer. It's what do you do the other 6 days of the week? So for me, I try to do my faith all the time, in business, outside of business, with family, with friends. Obviously, not perfect. So I'm sure there are a million different things or ways that I've wronged people or said something wrong or whatever. I'm always trying to be better. So I would definitely say that God and business, they're together for me. And I don't feel like God blesses me or anybody else with just giving them fish. I feel like it's more teach you how to fish. So I don't think you'll wake up to a ding dong on your doorbell with a duffel bag full of $100,000 in cash because you prayed for it. That's not going to happen, in my opinion. Maybe it does, and if it does, please comment on the video. We'll help you invest it. But I would definitely say that more often than not, at least the way that God's worked in my life, is He gives me opportunities. Connects me with an individual, I can learn from them, and or hey, here are lots of different people you can talk to, and one of them has a deal. So I feel like there's just opportunities in networking and with deals, with bankers and CPAs and attorneys, and other people that I've rubbed shoulders with, Jason included. So there are just lots of different people He can put in your life, opportunities He can put in your life, but you still need to do the work to work that network, work that deal, and pound the pavement. So that's my opinion on God and business.
Absolutely. I'm aligned with you on that. And sometimes it's like easier said than done too. It's like, oh God, don't look at this, but look at all this good that I'm doing. But you know what I mean? They always have some things that you're like not really sure that you really want God to be a part of. But ultimately, all of it, it needs to be with God.
It does. And honestly, let's take a step back because I feel like it's important to share this. Whenever I was selling a lot of my rentals and self-storage and smaller apartment, I signed a contract to sell. This is an honesty story and kind of a, lean on God, faith story and stuff like that, I guess what you could call it. But I signed a contract to sell the 32-unit apartment that my wife and I owned at the time. It's the one that you'll read about here in the D's of the deal. And we were selling it for a lot more than what we bought it for, but still, we were going to try and do a 1031 tax exchange, and which means essentially sell a property, buy a new property, and pay no income tax on any money you made selling the old property. But there's a ton of different things you have to do to line it out. There's timelines, government documents, blah 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 blah, so the IRS doesn't come after you, right? So, anyways, after I signed a contract to sell these 32 apartment units, I was having a really, really hard time finding a replacement property or a new investment property to roll that money into and avoid paying tons of tax to the government. And really just overall, I wanted to keep investing in real estate and I wasn't finding a good deal. And, who wants to sell all their real estate and not find a new deal? Some people might, but that's not what I wanted. So I wanted to keep going in real estate. So a couple months pass on this deal of selling the 32 units, and I am just like dragging my feet. I'm just telling the guy who's buying the 32, said, hey, I'm not selling anymore. I don't want to sell. I can't find a replacement property. I'm just going to keep this apartment. I just leave me alone. I want to back out of the contract. Here's the hard part. As a seller, it's very hard to back out of a contract. As a buyer, you've got tons of contingencies. You've got your appraisal, you have your inspection, you have loan underwriting if you're getting a bank loan. So, but as a seller, which I was a seller in this scenario, I was just like, hey, I want to back out. We're all done, dude. And the buyer said, hey, if you try to back out, I'm just going to sue you.
For performance?
For performance, for non-performance, for not doing your end of the deal. And for me, I was, excuse me, I was a little scared because I didn't want to sell this asset that I really didn't want to sell. I was only selling it more out of a necessity. And then, so anyways, long story short, we went back and forth, me and this buyer, and I just said, you know what, buyer? Sue me. I said, I don't care. And I walked away. And I thought about it, I prayed about it, and I've always been brought up, and it's part of my faith to do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and also be honest and do the right thing, obey the laws of the land, do what you say you're going to do. So after some pondering and some thought, I went back to the buyer and said, you know what? You don't have to sue me. I'm going to go ahead and sell you this apartment because that's what we shook on. That's what we signed a contract on. I'm going to do the right and the honest thing. Mm-hmm. And keep in mind, months had gone by. I'd been trying to find a replacement property for months, something new to put my money into, and just zero progress. I talked to probably hundreds of people, looked at hundreds of different properties on the market, off the market. Nothing was working. And within a matter of weeks after I decided to do the right and honest thing on the 32-unit sale and just stick to my word, within a few weeks, a banker brought me a deal on the 119 units and said, hey, dude, this guy right here, he wants to sell 119 units. Call him. And
a banker.
And he said, I'm going to finance it for you too, man.
Oh my God.
It's just like, oh my goodness. So it's just, and it was a huge deal. I mean, think this apartment, it's a huge, millions and millions and millions of dollars, right? Mm-hmm. So anyways, not only did the deal more or less fall into my lap, but also the financing kind of fell into my lap. And then here I am thinking, I would have missed out on this if I wouldn't have done the honest thing, So I feel like, just kind of recap.
God took care of you.
God, he totally took care of me, man. And you may look at it as a coincidence or anything, but for me, I don't think it was a coincidence. For me, it was just, I was doing everything right except for honoring my word on that deal. As soon as I honor my word on that deal, boom, everything fell into place. Buying those apartments, the big 119, best investment decision I've ever made in my life.
And I feel like the timing is important too, because I feel like God was working on you through that probably. And that's why he didn't, because he could, anytime he could have lined up that 119 unit.
And then I've been like,
in the timeline, and you would have been fine. Yeah. But you leaned on him through that. And I think you will probably learn lessons out of that, right?
For sure, man. For sure. So that was really cool, intertwining God, faith, doing honest and all that stuff.
I don't know why, but I just thought of this. So I was at Bible study Sunday, so I guess it was yesterday. And there was a kid, an 18-year-old kid, that said that one of the things he prays for is, he prays for blessings, but he also prays for tests. I've never heard of that and never thought to do that.
Good luck to that man.
Yeah, I know. But I was like, man, that would be terrifying to do. But I like to think of things that are terrifying and then do them because it'll make you stronger, right? Mm-hmm. So I think I'm going to start doing that, even though it's really hard and uncomfortable. God, give me tests. I don't want to do that, but I'm going to try to start implementing that and just see what God does.
I heard something similar when I was in the Sunday school. I was 14 or 15 years old, and the guy who was teaching the Sunday school said, sometimes God answers prayers quickly. Sometimes he answers them not quickly. Mm-hmm. But one prayer that he does typically answer quicker is if you pray for patience. Mm. So I remember at 14, 15, I was like, all right, I'm going to test this out, man. So, that day or week or whatever, said a prayer, said, God, help me have patience. Give me an opportunity to have patience. I don't remember what happened, but something happened. And it was hard, and I had to learn some patience. So I feel like definitely if you pray for adversity or patience or tests, any of those buzzwords, you'll probably get it.
Yeah.
So probably be like, all right, we'll show them, we'll hook them up.
So what legacy do you want to leave? You can kind of go into business, and then you can go into family and all that, all the legacy stuff.
All the legacy. Leave. So I want to be a good example for my kids. So
that's really good.
Honestly, that's probably one of the biggest legacies is I want to be a good example for my kids. I want to improve the lives of pretty much everybody I hang out with and I'm around, whether it's family, friends, business people. That pretty well covers everything. So I want to just improve people's lives, and then I want to be a good example for my kids. So. And that's part of the reason why I, write my books and I give them away most of the time just for free. I keep a ton in my truck just so when I'm out and about, if I meet somebody, then I can hand it to them. So it's kind of one of the ways that I give back is just to improve other people's lives and leave a good example for my kids.
That's awesome.
And obviously my wife is a good example for me, so I don't really need to leave an example for her. So She's already a rock star. But. Yeah. That's kind of the legacy. A lot of things go into that, but that's the big legacy.
So do you have any goal legacies, not maybe material legacies that you want to leave, or where you want your money and stuff to go when you're gone, stuff like that? Or do you have a plan yet for that?
Yeah, for sure. So, to start off, part of the legacy is what we're doing right now. So most people donate a portion of their income, either to charities or to churches or something like that. And obviously you read in the scriptures that you donate 10% is what a lot of people do. So of your tithing. Yeah. So for me, I'm big on donations. So I donate not to every cause, but I try to be as generous as possible. Try to not suppress a generous thought. That's a phrase I heard, a few years ago, never suppress a generous thought. And I've tried to live by that, If we're out and about, my wife and I went to, and this is not trying to like brag or anything. I mean, it's far from that, but we were out at dinner the other night at a sushi place. And when the server brought us our ticket, I said, hey, who do you think needs their meal paid for in here? And then she just said, these people right over here. So we just let the server pick, and then we went ahead and just paid for their meal. And stuff like that.
That's really cool.
And I mean, they probably didn't need it. They were probably out on a sushi date, so they could afford a sushi date. But I mean, if someone paid for your meal, how would you feel? Yeah. So just stuff like that. So, and then I donate to people's ministries and stuff every month who are doing like the same type of ministry that I was doing when I was 18 to 20. So. And obviously pay tithing and stuff. So I feel like a big thing for me is, helping people out monetarily. So, because I don't really have a lot of time in the day to go and like help you chop down your tree or rake your yard. And to be honest, I don't really want to do that. So I want to be with my family, but I just try to help and give and be generous where I can.
With what God's given you.
Yeah, with what he's given me, for sure.
I think everyone has like spiritual gifts, and he's blessed you there. So now you're taking that and you're faithful with it. So
for sure. Yeah. And as far as I don't want my kids to be spoiled. So that's a big thing too, is that I want, and other parents watching, you probably have the same thing going on or similar. You want to give your kids everything because you love them so much, but you don't want to spoil them. So Brittany and I are continually trying to find that balance of how can we love and help and give, but don't spoil them. So have you guys found a good balance with that, Jason?
I mean, so my thing is toys drive me nuts because we don't want clutter in our house. So like, we kind of do like the toy cycling and stuff where we give them some toys, let them play with them for a while, and then we keep the others hidden and then bring them out. And toy swap and stuff like that. But we want to spoil them in the things that really will matter. Like, I guess it's not really spoiling, but one of the things I really want to do is help them to learn like 3 languages. Nice. And it might be an uphill battle. It may not happen. They might not want to learn and all that, but we want to try. So Japanese, Chinese, and Spanish. Those are the 3 things I think will help them and give them an edge. 3 in addition to English. Yeah. So really 4. Yeah. That's sweet. Yeah. So the Spanish thing, I mean, like, I feel like there's, in America, there's so many people that speak Spanish. So I think that's just like kind of like a no-brainer. And then I'm Japanese, so that's the reason for wanting them to learn Japanese. And then China, I think if I can have them learn Chinese, that'll give them the option to do business in China and stuff if they want. And so, and they don't have to, like in an ideal world, I would want them to take what I built and further it and whatnot. But if they don't want any part of it, they can do whatever. Like I want them to do whatever God calls them to do. But I just want to give them those competitive edges if I can and let them do some of that. So I think that'd be cool. That's good. Would you, if let's say fast forward 10 or 15 years, your kids are adults, right? So at this point, would you fund their business? If they say, hey, Dad, I have a good business idea and I need X amount of dollars, can you help us get it off the ground? What would you do in that scenario? That one's a tricky one because part of me wants to just say, yes, let's go do it. But then the other part of it is like, that didn't happen to me at all. And so I wish it would have happened. Like, Dad, will you give me $50,000 to let me try this? No, that's not what happened. So I think there was a lot of value that I learned in doing everything myself and being self-sufficient and learning how to go out and do this stuff, making the right connections and falling on my face all the time. I think there's a lot of value in that, but I'm hoping whenever they're like 16, 17, 18, they'll be trying to start businesses and get them off the ground and going through a lot of that. Because like when I was probably around 17, 18, I started a bunch of e-commerce businesses. I had like 10 or 12 failures before I hit iPhone restorations. Oh, wow. And so and I didn't invest very much money. I didn't have any money, so I could just put, whatever I was making into whatever I was doing. And that's the amount of money that I lost whenever I would lose. But it was like I tried a bunch of websites and trying to do e-commerce and sell stuff online, and it just, none of that panned out. So, but had I not, like, each failure led me closer to success is how I like to see it. And I want to instill that stuff in my kids. So I don't know. That's my personal take on a lot of it, but depends on what it is. If I really thought they had a good business model, maybe I could do that. And then I might even charge them some interest or something to make it like, you have to pay this off. Like, I don't want to give it to you. And it's not even like, the interest isn't to make me money or anything. It's just to give them something to be like, look, you have to earn this. I wasn't handed stuff, so I'm going to give you this, but you're going to earn it somehow, or you're going to pay it back, even if it doesn't work. Something like that. I don't know. What's your take on all that?
Yeah, we're pretty well on the same page as far as that. I want my kids to hustle, and I don't want them to be given anything. But at the same time, I do think that we'll take it situation by situation, like a case by case. Yeah. So definitely, I think my kids are going to be driving crappy cars. I drove some older, junkier cars that, when I was growing up, and I actually had to buy my own car. I paid for my own phone bill. Mm-hmm. I paid for my own gas and my own insurance and stuff. So I feel like a lot of the things that I had to pay for or do or sacrifice earlier, escalated into bigger things and helped me with business. So, so I think a lot, it's good to do that.
Mm-hmm. I thought about that stuff too. Like car is a big thing, a big gift that a lot of parents will give to their kids and stuff whenever they're, 16 or whatever. Me and Haley haven't talked a whole lot of detail on this, but I think it'd be good if they got like even if it's an old Tesla, like a 20, like maybe our Tesla that we have now, if we kept it that long, maybe they got that as their first car, because I like the safety ratings and all that of it. And then you can limit it if you want to where it can't go over 80 miles an hour or whatever. You can do all the parental controls and stuff. So I think that might be good. But also there'll probably be every car will be probably super safe by the time they're old enough, and I don't know. So I don't know. I don't want to spoil them either, but I also am trying to create this amazing lifestyle that very few people have. So I do feel like eventually there has to be some type of balance, because like where we're trying to go is like we started to hire like someone to keep our house clean, stuff like that. Someone to like, we have like the nanny and stuff like that. And so there's some of these luxuries that not everyone gets that I think the kids will be kind of accustomed to. So whenever they're on their own and they don't have people doing their laundry and stuff for them, like, I don't know, maybe whenever they're, 10 years old, maybe they'll start doing their own laundry and having some of those chores and responsibilities or something. I don't know. Like, I want to take them on the most amazing vacations and stuff and create these amazing memories, but I don't want to just hand them stuff, if that makes any sense.
And I think there's a big difference between experiences versus gift giving. Yeah. You know what I mean? So taking your family on a big trip, going to Disney or Hawaii or doing something big, I think that that's probably more impactful and better for a family or for little kids than it would be giving them
$10,000 to go and blow or whatever.
$10,000 or giving them more toys or giving them more stuff. Yeah. So I feel like experiences, help. Yeah, probably better than physical things. But I mean, everybody finds their own balance. That's for sure. Yeah. And right now we're teaching our daughter, she has a piggy bank, right? Most kids have a piggy bank. And what she wants to save up for is she's 5 years old almost. She'll be 5 in a few months. And she really wants a metal tiara. Just like, because she's in the princess phase right now. Mm-hmm. And just like if you've ever watched Princess and the Frog, Princess Tiana, from the Disney movie, she has a certain tiara that my daughter likes, and she wants a real metal one, not a plastic one, because the ones we've gotten her now have been plastic. And we said, all right, that's going to be like $15. You save up. And she's been saving up for months. Honestly, probably a year and a half. It's been over a year.
Delayed gratification.
And then I think we're almost there. We just counted some of the money in her piggy bank. I think she's almost there. And she's already talking about the next thing she wants to save up for, which is a swim Barbie doll. Go like a mermaid doll, go in the pool and stuff. So I think it's important for kids to save up. I think it's important for them to make good decisions and to be disciplined and not just, hey, okay, you want a tiara? Let's go out and get you one. Hey, you want a mermaid? Let's go out and get you one.
So let's go into more detail on that, because like I'm right there. I want to learn some of that stuff from you guys. So when did you start the piggy bank thing, and then how are you funding it?
So we started the piggy bank thing a couple of years ago. Probably same around that 1.5 to 2 year mark is when we started piggy banks with her, and then her little brother, who is now like 2 years old. So he hasn't earned very much money. But the way that she gets money is by helping when we ask her to do things. So if we say, hey, can you go run up and get a diaper and clean this and put the books away, and we give her a couple things to do, and give her 10 cents or something like that, or give her 20 cents. So it's just more her helping us doing chores, and also just other things that we ask her to do. Hey, feed your little brother a bottle, because we have another baby who's like 6 months old. Yep. So feed him a bottle so mommy and daddy can go do this or that. So just whenever she helps and she isn't griping about it, and she is, happy and willing and helpful, that's when we usually give her some money. And I went to the bank, and this is something that I'd recommend to any of the viewers, or if you and your family are doing this or want to do this. I went to the bank and just said, hey, I want $50 in coins. So I got rolls of quarters, nickels, dimes, pennies. So I've got this big, bank bag, $50 in coins. It weighs like probably 5 or 10 pounds. Yeah. It's huge. And that's what we take. Take a dime, take a penny, take a nickel. And we're making dents in that. So, and then her little brother, who's 2 years old now, we just give him a couple pennies every now and then because he's cute, but he doesn't really, but he has started. And anybody listening, you probably, once your kids reach 1 year to 2 years, it seems like they want to get a little more helpful, So he'll take diapers to the trash, he'll pick up stuff from the ground, he'll put a toy back. So as he helps and we ask him to help, we usually give him money.
Yeah, that's our 3-year-old started to be able to clean her whole room by herself, and I was like, man,
that's a good one.
I was like, I wonder how. I just started asking her to do it, and I don't know if Haley's been asking her and stuff or not, but I just started asking her to do it, and she was able to get it all done. I was like, dang, how long could I have been doing this instead of picking them up all for them?
Oh, dang. Yeah, it's a game changer when your kids can start cleaning up after themselves. That's something we're still, trying to hammer down. So.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome.
Yep, so that's it. So be examples to my kids and improve the lives of everybody that come into contact with. Yep. That's kind of what the legacy is for me.
Yeah, and I think you're doing a great job with that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So how can people connect with you?
People can connect with me. Obviously, you can, get my books on Amazon. And what we could probably go ahead and do is you can leave a link to my business page. So I'm a real estate, realtor and broker at Murney Associates in Springfield, Missouri. So I have like a bio page with my contact info and all that stuff. So we could probably just link that into the podcast, my Murney bio page.
Okay,
so
sweet.
That's probably the best way. And on there, it'll have where you can email me or you can send me a message or something like that.
Okay, cool. And then do you have a final message for our audience?
Oh man, final message. Hard work and blessings pay off. That's for sure. I think both are necessary, hard work and blessings. And I feel like we live in the greatest nation on earth. And if you're listening outside the United States, there are a lot of freedoms and good places to be and invest. A friend of mine is in Portugal, and he is investing, flipping condos and stuff like that. And I guess their tax burden is less there. They don't have to pay as much income tax. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't looked into it. So there are pros and cons to living anywhere in the world. Specifically here in America, I love being in America. I think that hard work and blessings pay off. This is the land of opportunity. I love the BRRRR method that we talked about, the buy, remodel, rent, refinance, repeat. I love thinking outside the box. Trading trucks for houses, starting with something and turning it into something bigger. So I definitely feel like life is what you make it, and hard work and blessings pay off.
Yeah, and getting creative, there is no reason that you have something of value you can give to someone else and create an opportunity that most people might not have thought of. There's opportunities everywhere, and if people just really thought about, okay, what do I have? What can I do? And get them out of the situation that they're in, paycheck to paycheck or whatever, they can begin to succeed.
For sure. Anybody can do it. And here's the thing, everybody is dealt a different card in life, different hand in life. So for some people, it may come easier or sooner or faster or quicker or slower. Yep. So I feel like some people are in, either raised in families that have more connections, or, some people are born with more natural talents or gifts, while other people are not. So that's not to say anybody's better than anybody, because that's not the case. Everybody is equal. I believe we're all children of God. But at the same time, don't get discouraged if it takes you a little longer than it takes Jason, or anybody else, just because everybody's running at their own pace, and as long as you're moving in the right direction, that's all that matters.
Yeah. And it's hard I'm guilty of it, like looking at other people and being like, well, I should be there, or I should be this far, and I'm getting behind. That's a personal battle that I have. And so if you just focus on yourself and look at what you're doing, then I think you're better off, honestly, because comparison is the thief of joy. It
is. And you really should only be, in my opinion, comparing yourself to who you were and who you are today.
Exactly.
Or maybe where you were at and where you're at today. Yeah. So that way you're not comparing against him or her who, they did different, or they had a different circumstance. It's more of just, where was I and where am I?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Well, thank you, Jason. Really appreciate you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming on.
Sure
and thank you guys for watching the Kurima Podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.